Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Um, so I just finished watching Ad Astra, which is a great film with Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. And, it's just interesting watching that from a sort of like more metaphysical, spiritual perspective, as opposed to like a strictly secular point of view that we're typically, you know, um, given through school. Because they spend the entire film ultimately trying to accomplish a mission, which is originally, for Brad Pitt's dad, Tommy Lee Jones, to find, intelligent life out there, out in the universe. And so they set out, in this whole, Lima project, in this big spaceship, big spacecraft. And, it ends up being a bit of an issue. They don't find anything. It all goes a bit wrong. And Brad Pitt set out to sort of try and reconcile the situation. But one of the conclusions is in the film, and I can't help but feel it's a bit of a pre-programming, predictive programming, bit of psyop, which is that the inevitable conclusion for any film that's produced from Hollywood in the West is going to be like, oh, there's nothing out there. Of course, there are all these other sci-fi films that show you all these extraterrestrials and all this kind of stuff, but we're very much spoon-fed to believe that this is all just sci-fi. Of course, it's just fiction. But this film is perhaps a little bit more grounded in its approach to that, and I think it's quite an artistic film. I know people who just watched it and they were bored to tears, but I'd say that these are people that are a little bit less. I don't know, like perhaps refined in the arts, and they just don't appreciate some of the beauty in the film, some of the cinematography, the effects, and I just generally like the whole film. But what's interesting though is that they conclude that there is no intelligent life, right? Because they simply haven't seen it with their human faculties, with their eyes. So, they set up all these spaceships and all of this sort of like technology and the amount of money that's pumped into the project to go and find, alien life. But what they failed to realize is what Carl Jung said, which is that those who look outside dream, those who look inside awake. So perhaps they didn't really need to go anywhere. Like perhaps it's possible to experience an alternative state of consciousness right here, right now, where you are, and indeed, I feel like we do so when we go to sleep, right? But, we often discard those things as not being real. But the point being that you don't need to go out to Uranus and spend all of this like money with all these technologies. All you've got to do is get out of your own head. Like, remember, as Alan Watts said, trying to sort of grapple and understand reality is like trying to bite your own teeth, right? We're trying to get at it from, the brain. We're trying to get at it. But we need to put ourselves out of the way. We can only do that through meditation, contemplation. A lot of the, right brain hemisphere activity that has been left at the door of Western education. So we are, remaining incredibly focused. Attention is narrow perception. It's another Alan Watts quote, right? So if the film alludes to the idea that there is no life because they're just simply looking at it through the human lens, but what we need to do is realize that the reason for that is that the biology, what we call biology, is effectively nature's technology. So we've got to sort of like take our spaceship, our cosmic spacesuits off, which is the human body, and we do this when we fall asleep and we experience altered states of consciousness. And one image really that shows that, I think, is this one. If you just type in piercing the veil into Google, you'll see this image. And it's a beautiful image because for me, it just depicts it perfectly. Like when we look up into the night sky, we just see darkness and we see stars, right? But again, that's only because you're looking at it. That is how your organism, your body, your senses, your eyes are decoding that reality. If you could step outside your body, it could be, just as that image suggests, a phantasmagoria, a dream, right? An illusion. And of course, there are many like Hollywood metaphysical films that allude to that, such as Solaris, The Truman Show, The Matrix. So it's really interesting. Like as soon as you start to engage in a more balanced psychological exercise, if you like, which we call meditation typically, Because you would see that the whole film is ultimately like, people will watch that and then think, yeah, we're all alone in the universe and there's nothing out there. We might as well just go and watch TV. But, this is just totally an inversion of reality when you realize that all you need to do is close your eyes and daydream and start to build up the psychological faculties, such as the imagination, intuition, and simply daydreaming and simply being on our own and contemplating our own existence. You might want to call it holy or holistic thinking, you might want to call it existential intelligence. This is what's fundamentally required for us to see that not only is there life out there, you're also out there. Your consciousness is not localized to your brain. Your brain is just receiving the consciousness, which is universal. And so what we're going to do is, in the future, talk about the chakras, which is sort of like the conscious centers or receptors of the universal mind. And we'll see, throughout our evolution, how and throughout our lives, we have experiencing these different arrays of colors. And we'll perhaps do that in the next video. But, remember, the whole point in making these videos is for us to actually get to a level of consciousness that will engage in solutions, right? That actually wants to live in a better world, can identify the problems, and wants to be a part of the solution. Because until we reach that level of consciousness, we're going to continually live in this world of indentured servitude for survival. And of course, the only way we can get out of that is by winning back our land, reclaiming our land, holding it in common, doing what the government should have been doing, but never will, which is to provide freely shelter, energy, food and water as basic human rights. We can do that by way of crowdsourcing and the 21st century communication technologies that we now have. So shelter, energy, food and water, those things should be basic human rights. Please visit newearth.land to connect, share and support, and we can create New Earth together. So with that said, have a great day, and thanks very much for watching.